Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another video from inside the Eve Echo's final test. Today we are looking at how you can play the healer by using logistics ships like the Burst Frigate, which is the one you can see on screen now, and this is the one we're going to be talking about, though we will have a brief look at the other faction options as well. Now before we jump in on this one, if you do enjoy the video or find it useful, let me know by hitting like on it and consider subscribing to the channel for all things Eve Echoes. Do make sure as well to ring that notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live. On top of that, let me know what content you'd like to see me cover, what topics do you want answered, that kind of thing in the comments section below, or by coming and finding me on the different social media channels along the bottom of your screen now, especially the Catskull Cartel Discord, where we like to talk about all things Eve Echoes. You do not need to be a member of the corporation, there are public channels open for everyone, so do come join us. Whew, all that said and done, right, let's talk about logistics frigates. Right, so first things first, when we talk about logistics ships in this sense, we're not talking about the logistics function down here, which ultimately I still maintain should be called hauling. Logistics in that sense is logistics like you have in a corporate, in a company where it's moving stuff from A to B. In EVE Online, logistics refers to basically healing or repairing remotely other ships. So that is what the burst here is on screen, and if I have a look at its stats and that in the fitting, you should get basic understanding for how to identify one of these straight away. Now, of course, there is a burst 1 and before the burst 2, and of course each of the factions does have its own little, its own 1 and 2 on the frigates that we'll have a look at, and as well there are beyond frigates you can go up into cruisers, which we will cover later. But if you have a look at the stats here on the overview page, you can see that first of all the roll bonus is an 80% boost to remote shield booster optimal range, and a 100% boost to remote shield booster accuracy fall-off. Like most weapons, these have an optimal range and accuracy fall-off, and this, the Burst 2 gives you a whopping great big bonus to both of those. Now, if you're going to be playing the healer a lot, obviously you're going to be wanting to put a lot of skills into the relevant, a lot of skill points into the relevant skills, which obviously, as you can see here, is going to be things like remote shield operation bonus. Here you can see that for each level in that, it's an additional 12% reduction on the capacitor requirement for remote shield boosters, and a 7.5% increase in remote shield booster shield boost amount, which just means for every level in remote shield operation, you are going to be boosting more and using less capacitor, which is huge because you do not want your capacitor to be running out while you are desperately trying to heal someone in your ship. That just involves everyone dying, and that's one big mess. Finally, because this is a frigate, it does get benefits from frigate command, in this case 5% flight velocity, obviously at full 5 levels, that's 25% flight velocity, very useful for clearing the gap between you and the person you are desperately trying to keep alive, and that's ultimately the point of these particular frigates. So you'll see all of the stats there. If we go into the full overview as well, you can see that it's shield and its armor. This ultimately is a shield tank. You might want to put some shield boosting stuff on here, certainly I wouldn't bother with armor repairers, that kind of thing. Capacitor recharge time, it's a typical frigate for the most part, but it is a higher tier frigate. We've seen all of the stats there, so let's have a look at how I would recommend you outfit a burst. Then we'll have a look at the alternatives for the different factions, or if you want to look at armor, that kind of thing, and then I'm going to fly out into space and showcase this bad boy in action. So the high slots, normally reserved for weapons, in this case are reserved for small remote shield boosters. Obviously small because this is a frigate, a logistics frigate. If you were using something like a scythe or a logistics cruiser, you're going to want medium remote shield boosters. Looking at the stats here, you can see this is very standard to using most kind of shield. It's a cross between a shield booster and a gun. The optimal range and the accuracy fall off 9 kilometers, 13 kilometers. You're looking at about 21 for a 50% effectiveness. That is, you're shooting health at people, basically. You are shooting to repair their shields from a distance. These are vastly preferable to having a standard shield booster. In fact, if you have a look here, a Mark 5 shield remote booster boosts your shield. I'm trying not to use the word heals your shield too much. It boosts your shield at 46.75. If I go down to the low slots and look at a Mark 5 shield booster, which is a personal boost, it's only a shield boost amount of 69. So it's a huge difference when you work that out by the actual capacitor, the activation cost, and how much it costs to use. The personal one, ultimately, it's very capacitor hungry, whereas the remote ones, they are ultimately much more efficient. For each point of capacitor usage, they heal much, much more. And that's why you use one of these things. Now, in the mid slots as well, rather than sub-weapons like warp disruptors or webs, that kind of thing, we are running small remote capacitor transmitters. These are kind of like the shield boosters in that a shield booster you fire at someone to push their shield back up. A small remote capacitor transmitter is something you fire at someone to push their capacitor back up. It's the complete opposite of an energy Nosferatu. Rather than draining their capacitor to pump yours, you are draining your capacitor to pump theirs. And you might be thinking, why on earth would I ever do that? Because simply put, if you're trying to heal someone and they are really struggling, there's a lot of heavy damage coming in, you can sit there with your remote shield boosters boosting their shield up. They've got their own shield boosters going on overdrive, their capacitor is about to flatline, you can inject some much needed juice into their system. Very, very effective, as you'll see later. Now, at the bottom as well, going back to the low slots, I've also got in here a Mark V small capacitor battery. This thing is an absolute godsend. Ultimately, you're going to be using your capacitor an awful lot, and you'll be surprised at how capacitor stable this ship actually is for the most part, even with everything switched on. But when you're using those capacitor transmitters, you are going to be pushing your own capacitor down towards the red zones. Thus, you want something like a small capacitor battery just to whack that whenever it's off cooldown and boost your capacitor right the heck back up. Now finally, I have an Afterburner here, a Mark V small Afterburner. I've gone for the best ones I can get in the slot at this point in time, simply because, as you saw, those logistics modules, the small remote shield boosters, often known as reps, they have a fairly short range. Here you can see, as I said, 9 kilometers optimal range, 13 for the accuracy fall-off. You're looking about a 20 kilometer effective range. You need to be within 20 Ks of someone in order to be able to heal them, and if they're flying around desperately trying to keep up with an enemy, you need to be zipping around behind them. And that's how you're going to do it. And as I said, capacitor with everything switched on. This lasts for a minute, but you're never really going to have everything switched on for long. And if you are having it switched on for long, that's when that battery comes into effect. Now, of course, that is the burst. The burst is the Minmatar logistics frigate used for boosting shields, and you can see it here on the tree. There are two different versions. You've seen the burst 2. There is also the just basic burst, which is basically the same thing. The skills actually aren't far off. It just has slightly better stats, including an additional high slot, which allows it to carry 3 of those remote shield boosters. Now, if you look into the other empires as well, they do have their own versions of these also. I've got to remember which ones of these are which now. I have a feeling it's the Tech 5 one, so I need to go one up and across here. There we are, the Inquisitor, 100% perfect, there we are. Tech level 5, this is the Amar version. As you can see, the Inquisitor has 2 high slots, 2 mids, 2 lows, and 2 of each rigs. This is a remote armor repairer ship. It's ultimately the same as a shield booster, but it works on your armor. So if you've got ships that are using armor tank rather than shield tank, something like an Inquisitor helps you pop it back up. And of course, armor is something that Amar tend to use more than shields. They tend to be armor tanks. So you're having a look here, and you can see again, remote armor repairer capacitor need is reduced by having remote armor repair operation skills trained. Frigate command is still your scan resolution. That's how quickly you can target something. When you actually hit lock on to a target, bam, that's when it fills up. The scan resolution is how quickly that fills up. So you can lock on nice and quickly, and it's all to do with using those remote armor repairers if you're using the Inquisitor. Further up the list as well, there will be an Inquisitor 2 on here. If we go across to Galente, again, it's at tier 5 that you get the basic one, which I think is the Navitas. There it is, Navitas. Again, that is remote armor repairer. Bonuses to remote armor repairers across the most part, with extra efficiency and that in here as well, and an inertia modifier for frigate command, so it can just get into position that little bit faster. And it's the basic ones, I think, are all at Tech 5. The Burst 2 sort of version, I think it's Tech 8. Is it Tech 8? No, that's the Interceptors. It's only Tech 6 there. There it is, Navitas 2, Tech 6. Because it's not actually that huge of a jump. And finally then, we've looked at those, so let's also have a look at the Caldari one. If we scroll through there, this is another shield booster one. The name escapes me at the moment, but there it is. It's the Bantam. Of course it's the Bantam. I should remember that it's a Bantam, because a Bantam is the car that my wife drives for the most part. So I'm impressed that I've forgotten that one. But again, that's remote shield boosters. Bantam and Bantam 2 at Tech 6, all for remote shield boosting. That's got better accuracy fall-off than the Burst does. You can see why you might have different ones of these. In some situations, the Burst is going to be better. In other cases, the Bantam is going to be better. If you're armor tanking, there are going to be times when the Navitas is the better of the two, that kind of thing. Now, if we go back into Minmatar as well, as I said, it's not just frigates that can be logistics ships, but under cruisers as well. Now, I did actually do a video on this exact ship during the beta. That's the Bellicose, that's not the one I'm looking for. There it is, the Scythe. The Scythe is actually one of my favourite ships playing as a Minmatar player. I do enjoy logistics. It's a bit of a thankless job. If you're going out into anomalies with people, expect to have to ask them for money, ultimately, because you will not be getting any of the ratting bounties or bonuses, and you probably won't get your hands on much of the loot either, because you're fairly slow and you're going to be focused on keeping people alive. But here you have a Scythe cruiser. Now again, you've got a drone bay, 4 high slots, 2 mids, 4 lows, 3 of each rig type, and again you can see this is all about the remote shield booster optimal range, effective range, and group capacitor transmitters, and I'll talk about groups in just a moment, but ultimately this is kind of the cruiser variant of a logistics frigate. It's the bigger, badder version of it. And again, all 4 of the Empires do have their own versions of logistics cruisers as well, which are worth looking into. I'm not going to cover them at depth in this video, because otherwise it's going to be like 3 hours long. But skills, let's have a look at those. We'll talk about the different skills. Most of this is going to come under maintenance technology. You'll see that if, like me, you're using things like the Burst, because most of the people around me are using Minmatar or Caldari vessels and are thus using a lot of shields, then if we scroll down here, remote shield operation is a skill that you can train up there. It reduces the amount of capacitor that the remote shield, the reps use. It increases their optimal range by 25%, the shield booster mount is increased by 25%, and group shield booster power grid need is reduced as well. That's all to do with like using the remote shield boosters. Now, of course, if you go into armor operation, scroll down, you will have remote armor operation as a skill as well that does pretty much the same thing for remote armor boosters. Alright, so all that said and done, we've looked at the skills, we've looked at the ships, we've looked at the modules. Now I think, of course, the best thing to do is to undock and actually showcase this in action. So it turns out these tier 9 anomalies are actually a really good way of me showcasing numerous different ships and effects. Not only have I done the Hurricane and the drone, I'm actually going to go out here now with a burst to try and keep Alex alive. He's having some issues with his capacitor right now. He's been tanking away in that cyclone for a long time. So what I'm going to do is shoot right in and get close to Alex now. He's summoned me into the area he's fighting, so I've drawn attention. I'm going to shoot across to him and start transferring some capacitor and perhaps even keeping his shields. Now, once I hit the area, the easiest way to target people who are in your fleet is to open up your overview, select fleet, of course, and you can see there who is in the area in your fleet. In this case, Alex is right there. So, what I'm going to do now is that while we're at range, there he is, I want to check what the exact range now is on my shield boosters. Just because we are out in space, let's do a long press on those. Optimal range is 9, accuracy is 13, so I want to be within 20 kilometers easy of him, so I'm going to sit there at 15, drop that on there, and let's have a look at the capacitor batteries. Again, here, optimal range is 3.5, accuracy fall-off is 5.2, so hit those I actually need to get real close to, so I'm going to go in at 5, approach to 5 kilometers, and once I'm in range, I'm going to whack both of those on and start healing up Alex's capacitor. Now, I am taking a bit of fire, but I should be missing most of those. There we are, we're within range. On go my cap batteries. Wish I could actually see Alex's capacitor here, but I know that he will let me know how he's getting on. I can turn my Afterburner off as well, as I'm now nice and close, and I can just keep that cap going. Keep the approach, and I'm going to drop that right down to 3Ks so I stay nice and close. Oh, I'm taking some heavy damage myself there. Let's keep that Afterburner on actually then, because that's some real nasty damage. I don't know what's shooting me, but it should be shooting Alex. Stop shooting me, shoot Alex. But there we are, that's basically now I'm here. You can see I am... Oh, bit of lag. You can see I am transferring my capacitor through to Alex. I've got a battery here from the fitting, as you know, which means once my capacitor starts getting a bit low, I can whack that right the way up and deal some extra capacitor there. Right, I am taking big damage, so I am going to need to disappear back to station at an alarming rate because I am being shot. I'm not sure what's shooting at me. It really should be shooting Alex. Please don't destroy me. No! No! Did I get to range? Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I got that on video. Believe that I got that on video. That was insane. That was insane. Obviously, the ideal thing for for an anomaly of like a tier 9 size would actually be something more like a scythe, a logistics cruiser, not a logistics frigate. But there we go. Proof that it can be done. Let's get the repairs on. Get those repairs done. There goes 172,000. That's okay. We can handle that. Oh man, I can't believe that got so close as that. But hopefully that has repaired up a decent amount of Alex's ship. Again, I'm going to go into the fleet menu here. Alex, warp 2, so that'll take me to his position. Once I'm there, I will have the fleet overview open, change that back from station to fleet, and boom, when we are in when I'm nice and close to him, he'll appear on that. I can lock onto him, start healing or moving in or doing whatever I need to do. I'm hoping eventually we do get some customization options for how the HUD actually works. There he is. It says lock onto Alex. 108 kilometers away. I need to approach to literally within 3 kilometers. And I need that afterburner on so I can clear the distance to him. While I'm doing so, I'm just going to ask quickly how his cap's doing. There we go. No. How's your cal? It's hard. I always struggle typing in a landscape, but there we are. I can start getting nice and close to him there and seeing if I can't boost up his cap again. And as soon as I start taking damage this time, I am going to whack back off to station, because crikey, that was terrifying. This is not an overly expensive ship, I'm not going to lie. You know, it's not a huge ship, but I'd still rather not lose it and have to spend all that again if I can. The equipment is fairly expensive, if nothing else. Anyway, so we are closing at range, 46 kilometers, and closing to Alex right now. And once I am in, what was the range of the capacitors again? That's like literally 5 to 8, wasn't it? 3 for the standard and then 5 for the additional. 3.5 optimal range, 5.25 accuracy fall off. Oh my god, that's terrible. Need to look into skilling that up. Anyway, so we are closing in now on Alex. Is that Alex there? Yep, 20 kilometers. I'm going to start healing him. No, he doesn't actually need his shields healed. Oh, there he is. Why do I have 2 Alexes? Okay, I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're going to... Oh, it's a drone. I targeted his drone. My goodness, I'm an idiot. I was targeting his drone. There we are, so let's get the healing on. And now that we're within the 4 kilometers range, I am going to whack up his capacitor there. There we go. And that is going to be his cap and his shields going. I'm going to put all 3 of those on there, so that he should be getting that shield up. Obviously, this is only a small shield, remote shield booster, so it's designed for healing frigates and destroyers, not really for healing up battle cruisers. But there we go. It's the thought and the concept that counts. I'm helping him heal, which is taking a bit of strain off his shield boosters, and I'm keeping the cap flowing to him nicely, and will continue to do so there. Anyway, this just about showcases what you can be doing in something like a burst. Now, obviously, if you're going to be healing up things like I am here, trying to heal up a cyclone, the better way to do that is going to be with something like a scythe, a logistics frigate. Sorry, a logistics cruiser, not a logistics frigate, but there we go. I'm now nicely in range. You can see Alex's shields are going back up there. Hopefully his capacitor is doing a bit better, because mine's taking a real hefty beating. Let's ask him again, because it was at 65 before. How's cap now? There we go. And his shields are nearly full. I would like to turn my capacitors off, transmitters off if I can, and just keep the shield going. There we are. As he says, he's almost at max, so I'm just going to keep those going a bit longer. Keep nice and close, and those guys, Rowan and his Kestrel, can be doing some damage. Alex obviously is going to be doing a bit of tanking as well. Let's turn those off now, because nearly max should be good enough. Turn these off as well, just so I can start recharging my own capacitor. I should be able to recharge with 1 shield booster still going. Yeah, there we are. That's recharging quite quickly, which is nice. So one thing I do like about the burst, it does recharge very, very quickly. Anyway, I would love to showcase this on sort of a more appropriately sized vessel, but you know what? this kind of does it. And as Alex has just put there, some fine content of the power of a logistics frigate. Yes, it is. I'm a tiny little logistics frigate, and I'm currently keeping a battle cruiser alive, because why not? If you want to play the healer, this is how you do it. Anyway, folks, if you've tried logistics, or if this is the kind of thing you think you would be interested in, do let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love chatting with you guys about all kinds of stuff. Let's drop the battery back in there as well. And if you are inspired by this, do give it a go. Otherwise, folks, thank you for watching, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!